Thank you, Jeremy. Welcome everyone again to the call. This is the first of the follow-up calls that we told you we would do following up the leadership training and member education, the mentorship coordinator training. I want to take just a couple minutes and review a couple of things we were trying to accomplish this year or this term in our mentorship coordinating. And then we're going to, after we look briefly at the responsibilities, we're going to get into the mentor-mentee function, which has, we're adopting here in Miami, why it's been so successful, what its purpose is, how it's going to benefit you and your chapter. So just to remind everyone, one of the things we talked about in leadership training was that our retention of first-year members is nothing like what we wanted it to be. And we want to improve our membership experience so that people in their first year learn what they need to do, have their expectations of their results and their activities be more aligned, understand what they need to do to truly benefit from being in BNI. We want to improve the experience so that when you're inviting your trusted professionals and friends, that they get what you thought they were going to get from it and they value it as much as you do. So briefly, one of the main things we focused on in training was the mentor-mentee function and the responsibilities from the handbook. As mentors, we're responsible for assigning mentees and for the selection of chapter mentors. We're supposed to maintain a mentee completion file and report status of mentee completion to the chapter. We expect you to remain in that position for the whole term. You're selected by the president, and how important this function is, even though voluntary, how much you can contribute to the individual members of your chapter and the chapter. We have invited the presidents to this call. Whether or not they're on it, we want them to understand what you're doing, so they'll be in a position to support you, so that they will encourage the chapter to be heavily involved, so that you can create the climate that you want to have a successful chapter without churning members, so that everyone is fighting to join your chapter. So what we're going to move on to for a minute is the we've talking a little bit already of the goals and purpose of the mentor-mentee function. We want to drive the value. We think it'll improve the buzz both in and out of the chapter about what you're doing, and we want a culture and expectation of accountability, performance, and profitability. Jesse has been using this. Jesse Stoller was on the call. He's one of our senior directors, and he has been using this in his own chapter. Jesse, I'm going to ask you if you would take a moment and tell us what kind of success you've had a little bit and why we're so excited about implementing this.
It gives, thanks. It gives members, new members, it gives them an ability to digest bits of information over an extended period of time, but not too long of a time frame that they either lose interest or it doesn't connect with them. So what we had seen in our group is that we had a lot of members coming in, and if you remember back to when you were a member of, when you first joined your BNI chapter, a lot of it feels like drinking from a fire hose. There's a lot of information that is sort of floated out there. There's a lot of acronyms that are used that many new members have no idea what we're talking about. And so that BNI lingo, the BNI culture, your chapter's culture, all of these things get flooded and thrust upon a new member in a very rapid period of time. And it is the mentor's responsibility, along with the president, along with the membership committee, along with all of the chapter members, really, to educate and train the new members on BNI and the BNI rules of the road. And one way to do that in a very effective and simple and easy way is to pair them with a mentor and to get them, to have somebody that can take this new person under their wing and teach them little bits and pieces at a time that it speaks easier to the overall big picture of the BNI chapter, the BNI experience. And we saw in our chapter that when we started doing this, the members that were new to our chapter, they had that, oh, I get it now moment a lot quicker in their membership versus previous. I think the statistics, by the way, I haven't officially shared this with anybody, but 1 year ago, I looked at the retention rates for our chapter, and 2 years ago we lost about 28 members in our chapter, and then 1 year ago we only lost 16. So we showed about a 12-person reduction in dropping members. Now we have a ways to go in our chapter, and a growth coordinator and stuff is working on some next bit things, but that was something that I noticed from implementing even a very rudimentary mentorship program that we introduced at Biscayne Connection.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Did you find that people also had a better understanding when you fed them this a little bit slower of what really was important, and they weren't so overwhelmed that they said, I'm just not doing it?
Yeah, it happens. I mean, look, they're still going to get that feeling. So the new member orientation will still leave the new member with a vast ocean of information that they have to process. Going to Member Success Program will still give this member a vast ocean of information that they still have to process. So those two things inherently shove a lot of information about the culture and the process and the policies of BNI and the specific chapter at the member. Then what happens is that the mentorship program helps digest the information that they have already been given. And so it helps them process that information, and that's what we found was really working, was that, yeah, you get thrown all of this information, and then you're able to sit down and digest it in bite-sized pieces. They were able to use the information much more efficiently, quicker, because they didn't have to rely on themselves to process all the information. And because they didn't have to rely just on themselves doing it, there was a lot more buy-in, and there was a lot more getting it, and there was a lot less throwing up their hands and saying, oh, never mind, I'm just going to do my own thing. Or there was a lot less throwing up their hands and then becoming indoctrinated by a seasoned member that might not necessarily do it the right way. You know what I'm saying? Where
yes,
we all have those members that they sort of skate by and they don't really do things the right way, and they're just sort of there. And those people sometimes can train other new members on those bad habits. And so a lot less of that happened as a result of members working with members in the chapter. The other last thing that I'll share is that it also, when you do it in the right way and you talk about it and you get all of the members knowing what you're doing from a mentorship standpoint, it makes the rest of the membership more open to helping and working with new members.
So one more quick question, which you just actually started touching on, that I want to ask before we move on to Jeremy, is what's in it for the mentor?
So I think there's a few different things, and it's going to be different for every mentor. One is it does give you as a mentor a tremendous amount of exposure and credibility within the chapter as a whole. And not just that, but you are one of the first points of contact for these new members. So if you're developing those relationships in the right way, you're really cultivating strong relationships with these brand new members that could potentially be very, very successful members in your chapter. So that goodwill, I mean, my first mentor experience that I had as a new member was with a member of my chapter that that credibility has sort of compounded itself as our relationship has built over the last 4 or 5 years. So that's one of the things. The other thing is that I think that we've utilized a lot of past presidents as mentors in our chapter, and it is just it's sort of an extension of continuing to give back to the chapter. I know for those of you that have been a president of a chapter or thinking about being a president of the chapter, it's really hard to sit still after you become a president of a chapter. And so even just the act of doing and giving is just a personally satisfying thing for a lot of our mentors in the chapter. So I think it works on both sides. I think both is it helps you grow your business and build credibility, but it also can be a very satisfying thing.
All right, thank you, Jesse. So now I'd like to ask Jeremy to introduce us to the function and a little bit why it was put in there and how to use it and why it works.
Absolutely. It'll be my pleasure to go through the actual technical side of the function. So the way that the mentoring program works is that it essentially pairs a mentor and a mentee together for a period of 8 weeks. And the purpose of it is that the mentor and the mentee will get an email once per week telling them what they should be talking about during a weekly meeting. And it kind of walks them through the process of that weekly meeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you guys. So let me get that going here. All right, so you should see my screen now.
Yeah.
And the way that this works is in order to access some of these more, I guess, advanced functions in BNI Connect, we are going to have to make our way past this home screen. I know a lot of people are really, really scared to go beyond the home screen, but we're going to have to go just a little bit deeper. A lot of people have come to me over the years and said, you know what, BNI Connect is not very user-friendly. I can't find anything. Everything's hidden. I understand. Here's the deal. Here's how I remember where things are in BNI Connect. These menus up at the top are what hide all the functionality. That's where we have to dig into to get to these things. Network is always going to be the social media components, so the connections and the testimonials and the discussion groups. If you want to look for one of those things, go to the network menu. The next two things that you'll spend almost all of your time in, and probably for most people the only other two menu items you'll see, is operations and reports. Operations is whenever you want to do things in BNI Connect, manage your meeting or add speakers, or in this case we're going to add mentors, you're always going to go to operations. Reports will be anytime you want to find statistics. If you want to get reports about your chapter, your POMS reports, your regional leadership team reports, the visitor reports, all of the output information is going to be in the reports. But anytime you want to input something, you're always going to go to operations. So in order to do the mentor-mentee function, we're going to go to operations. Now we're going to be functioning at a chapter level. So that's where all of the mentors are. So that's why I went to operations chapter. And what you see here on the left is the list of different things that have to do with the daily and weekly operations of a chapter. And for the mentor, we are going to go to the mentoring program. Now here you have two different options. You'll have view mentor mentee and assign mentor mentee. If you want to see the list of currently assigned mentors and mentees, you can go to view. Or if you just want to jump in and assign somebody right away, of course, you can click Assign. So I'm going to go into the View function now, and let's just see if we have any mentors and mentees for the BNI Accelerators chapter here in Miami. Now I can go back any point in time and look at the history of the mentors and mentees as well. And it doesn't look like we have any here. So if I wanted to actually assign a mentor and a mentee for this, I would just click on Add New. The start date is going to be the start date of the campaign. So if you know you want, let's say that your meeting day is today on a Friday, and you really want this campaign, you're assigning them, but you really want the campaign to kind of start on a Monday and go every Monday for 8 weeks, because if they get the email on Friday, they'll probably forget about it. What you want to do is make sure that you're going to choose the start date of, let's say, Monday. You then choose who the mentor is going to be and who the mentee is going to be. That's really all there is to it. All you need to do is click Submit, and these two people will be assigned as a mentor and a mentee. They will start receiving those emails as of that start date, and that's kind of all there is to it from a technology standpoint. Now, what do these emails look like that you're going to be getting on a weekly basis? Well, let me show you what they look like right now. Now, the region does, and I'll be talking to the regional staff afterwards, but we do have the ability to customize this. But for now, the headquarter default templates are basically on the first week of the campaign, they will get an email that says, "Welcome to the Mentor Program," and it'll explain what the next 8 weeks are going to be about. It lets them know on the first week what they should be talking about. The topics of this week are going to be, for example, inviting visitors and your 60-second presentation. They'll also get an attachment with that, which is going to look like this. You're a member, now what? And it goes through some of the top tips for new members. On the second week, they will get another email that says, "Welcome to week 2 of the Mentor Program. What we're going to talk about this week is we're going to work on your 60-second presentation some more, your memory hook, registering for the Member Success Program." They'll get an attachment on the second week as well. That will be the 7 ways to leverage your 60 seconds. And it goes through these 8 weeks of various activities and things to talk about. When it comes to being a mentor and a mentee, as the mentor coordinator, one of the most important things to keep in mind is that you don't necessarily have to be the person that's meeting with all these people. You are a coordinator. A lot of times when you're coordinating these, you want to find people that are naturally good matches for each other. This can also be an opportunity for jump-starting a relationship between two members. So you may want to consider people that would naturally be in the same contact sphere, or people that may live close to one another or may have businesses close to one another, so it's convenient for them to get together successfully. So just a couple of tips and tricks with that. If you'd like to get a copy of these emails, I will provide these emails also to Beth and the regional team so they can forward them on to you if you'd like a copy of them, as well as if you'd like to, just in your own chapter, maybe you and your president or somebody else from the leadership team assign yourself to each other as a mentor and mentee and actually see what emails are coming along. Now, we do have a question here from Alvaro. Says, can you change a mentor during the campaign? And the answer to that is yes. So let me switch over for a second so I don't mess up anybody in Miami here. I'm going to switch to my test region up in Antarctica. I'm going to go to the Burr chapter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new mentor-mentee up in Antarctica. They're going to start on Monday. And let's see, our mentor, we're going to have Alfred E. Newman, going to be mentoring Marky Mark from the Funky Bunch. So what we'll see now is that the two people will be paired together. We have a bunch of them now that have been paired in the past. Marky Mark was mentoring Ricky Martin, and John Smith was mentoring Albert Camus. Both of those campaigns are finished at this point. And now we have a new campaign, Alfred E. Newman and Marky Mark. So let's say that we're going through this campaign and the two people just need to stop getting these emails. They say, we don't want them anymore. You can always cancel this campaign by deleting it. If you need to switch people during that campaign, you can do that as well. And you do that by clicking the Edit button. You can either pre-plan a switch And you can switch you can only switch the mentor, you can't switch the mentee. If you want to switch the mentee, you basically cancel it and assign a new mentor and a mentee pair. So you can only switch the mentor for that campaign. So does that help, Alvaro?
Yeah.
And let's see, Richard has a question. Does this automatically go to them from BNI, or does the mentor coordinator have to do this every week? Nope. Once the mentor coordinator, once you set the pair, it will automatically go out for the next 8 weeks. You don't have to do anything else. Except anything else from a technology standpoint. You should, on a weekly basis, though, follow along with them and just ask them, hey, by the way, did you guys meet this week? How's it going? Do you have any questions? That type of thing. But from a technology standpoint, you only have to pretty much set it and forget it. So good question, Richard. Let's see. Bryant has more of a comment than a question. He has said that heard many times that BNI Connect is not user-friendly. Why not just change the platform? Bryant, it is a multi-million-dollar product, and it's also being used by 170,000 members around the world. So while it is being changed and things are being added almost on a monthly basis, they're also going to be working on a more modern, user-friendly interface that is mobile-friendly as well. That is the work on that is actually going on hopefully right now, and we'll see something along those lines in the upcoming months. So that is on its way. So hopefully that helps, Bryant. Michelle asks, is there a training class on using BNI Connect? I am so glad that you asked that question, Michelle. There are definitely training webinars that I do on a monthly basis. So by the way, I told you before that this is being recorded. Let me show you where the recordings will be located. The place to find the recordings, click on this question mark in the upper right-hand corner. That question mark will take you over to the support site. Once you are on the support site, you'll see front and center, the first thing is this list of webinars. Now, every month I go through just about the entire member portion of the system in a series of 7 webinars. So you are welcome to join me on one or all of those webinars. We only have a couple left for this month, and that's going to be next week. We have chapter goals for leadership teams, and then we have leadership team tools and reports. All of them, however, are recorded, and where you'll find the recordings and where you'll find today's recording as well, if you scroll down a little bit further, chapter training and documentation, recorded webinars for April 2015. I will place this webinar today into this article up here, but this is where you would find all of the recorded webinars. You can either watch them right here in this article. They're in smaller screens right now, or you can link directly to the YouTube video and watch it full screen or much larger. Of course, our YouTube channel has a ton of videos, and I will also have the series for next month posted shortly, which you can also find on BNIMiami.com in the regional event calendar. So I know that was kind of long-winded, but hopefully that answers your question, Michelle. And let's see, we have a question from Alvaro. What has been the experience with mentorship programs on existing members? So far, it's been a positive experience. And mentoring doesn't have to only be, that's a great point, doesn't only have to be with new members, although it is imperative to do this with every new member because it really does increase retention, makes the member feel welcome, gives them a jump start on relationships, makes them feel more comfortable in the chapter, makes them feel more comfortable speaking, helps get them prepared for the meetings. I mean, the list goes on and on. But if you have a struggling member as well, or even a member that, we all get in ruts at some point. I've been a member for 13 years now, since 2002. So I'm coming up on my 13th anniversary in BNI, and over the years, I've gone through my own ruts. Sometimes I'm doing 2 or 3 one-to-ones a week, and then all of a sudden I'll take a look at my calendar and realize I haven't done a one-to-one in 6 months. That was a pretty easy way to jumpstart that and either jump in as a mentor or, reestablish a relationship by forcing yourself into a mentor relationship with even another existing member. You'd be surprised, just like going back to the member success program, how much stuff you may have forgotten over the years. So, thank you. That was good, Alvaro. All right. Are there any other questions for me on the really on the technical side of things? Otherwise, what I will do is I will turn this back over, I believe, to Ken.
Well, thank you, Jeremy.
Ken or Jesse?
Jesse, do you have anything you want to talk about an additional story related to anything you might have talked about earlier in terms of success, how using this has had a on your chapter again? Anything more you want to add before we move on?
I think that, the only other thing that I would add is that recognize that this is a program that you can start and continue to build off of. So I've now stepped out of the mentorship seat and I have joined the mentor team. So we have a new mentorship coordinator that has taken over the project and is now mobilizing a team of members that have agreed to be mentors. And the mentor team has actually grown as a result of the program because we're all talking about it. We know that it's a thing that's happening. And you're getting a lot more active participation in members that were previously not quote-unquote leaders to the chapter. They're stepping up and taking on a leadership role, even though it's not necessarily a titled position like a president or a vice president or whatnot, and they're contributing to the success of the chapter. And what is happening as well is because, and this sort of piggybacks with what Jeremy was saying, because those members, those seasoned members, are now actively participating in the success for other members, their own participation has increased significantly. So we're seeing, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but we're seeing more active members on both sides. And I think that's an important thing to also comment on, is that if you can start to identify the right individuals for your team, that their participation will also increase, and their, their data, their numbers, their profitability will go up as a result as well. That's the only other thing that I want to add. I mean, it's not as overwhelming as people make it out to be. It's actually a very simple, fun process. Most of us are already doing one-to-one meetings with members, right? So this is sort of just an extension of that practice, and it's just doing it in a slightly different way. It's remembering where you started as a member in a chapter. It's how you got there, how you learned the stuff that you learned, and what are the things that you wish you would have learned quicker to be able to be successful in your chapter. Yeah.
I think that's exciting. It changes that dynamic. The next thing I want to remind people is there is a 90-day checklist that you want the mentor and the mentee to fill out. It's in the handbook, the Chapter Mentoring Responsibilities Handbook, which I think I finally have access. It was shown by Jeremy earlier how to get it. The email list of all the mentors in the region, mentorship coordinators. So I will be emailing you that manual again today if you don't have it, so that you can print out of it the checklist that you're going to use, which you'll want to then pass on to your presidents. I think that's going to be a very important thing.
Ken, sorry not to interrupt, but we will also be sending out the link for this also, so they can take notes if need be.
Excellent. So I think this can really impact the dynamic. Jesse, your experience on how it has changed a little bit the dynamic in your chapter by incorporating both new and old members and how they've changed, I think is really what we're looking to achieve. Do any of the mentorship coordinators, or if there's any presidents online, have any questions? Is there anything you'd like us to address? And if not, do you had any challenges that you'd like to talk about, or successes that you've seen since you've started your term as a mentorship coordinator?
We do have one question from Michelle. Michelle says, is it okay to stand up in a BNI session and simply say, if you would like to sign up for mentorship as a mentee, talk to me to sign up? Or do you just pick who you feel needs this help? Since our chapter just started, we've been building the group, so we all have touched base at one point or another at one-to-one sphere meetings, etc. What do you suggest? I can tell you what we do in our chapter. Granted, I am from a different region. I am up in the Rhode Island region. But that being said, in our chapter, the way that we handle this is our mentor coordinator looks at the new members. So they go to the membership dues report, or when somebody gets sworn in. The idea is that when somebody is inducted, that very day they are assigned a mentee. So our mentor coordinators keep in close contact with the secretary-treasurers, find out who's going to be sworn in and when they're going to be sworn in. And before that day, usually the week before they're inducted, they're trying to basically play matchmaker and say, okay, well, John Smith is coming into the chapter. He's in banking. Who would be a really good, we got somebody answering machine going off in the background, but we can have, at that point, somebody that maybe it's the real estate agent, or maybe it's the mortgage broker, or maybe it's somebody that's in a complementary category. The mentor coordinator approaches them and says, will you be this person's mentor? Rather than asking for volunteers, because if you ask for volunteers, we're all ridiculously busy. Nobody's going to step up and volunteer their 8 weeks worth of time. But if you approach them and give them the benefits of it, oh, you're going to get to meet this new person, you'll help them out, so on and so forth. It's really not that much time. You should be doing one-to-ones anyway. That may get them in place. That being said, Jesse or Alvaro or Ken or anybody, do you guys have any thoughts or comments of how it would work in Miami?
I can speak to this really quickly. My observation is that you can certainly stand up in a meeting and request members to outreach back to you. My personal experience is that maybe you'll get 1 or 2 people that are interested in that, and the rest of the individuals that you think would be best suited might just stay quiet. And that works on both sides. I'm talking about if you stand up and you say, if you want to be a mentor, speak to me. And also if you say, if you need additional help and you want to be a mentee, speak to me. My experience was that both sides, yeah, I got a couple of people that came to me, either sent me an email or came up to me after the meeting and said, yes, I need help, or yes, I want to help. But most of them, you have to sort of just look around, see who the influencers are in your chapter, outreach to those individuals, do some digging around on your own and see who else you want to join your team or who else you feel needs some assistance. And then for those people that you think need assistance, that you need mentors for, the best way is find, again, if you have a member of your chapter that needs some help and you think that they need mentorship, find out who their colleagues are in the chapter, who are their close associations with that they would be most open to learning from, and then go outreach to that person and say, listen, I want to start mentoring so-and-so, and I think you would be the best person to help with that, and start speaking in that way. I think that's also another way that you can work behind the scenes. Jeremy had the best comment where he said, look, you are the mentorship coordinator. So the best thing that you could be doing is mobilizing and sort of moving the chess pieces around in your chapter to help motivate others in your chapter to also take that baton and run with it.
Jesse, Michelle is in a chapter that recently launched a few months ago. What do you think of her as she's on the membership committee, talking to the leadership team and membership committee, and perhaps launching the program throughout the entire chapter where everybody takes on the role of both mentor and mentee?
I think that's a phenomenal idea. You've got a chapter that's started. So usually my experience with newly launched chapters is that all of the members are very open to learning new things, particularly when it comes to the word-of-mouth marketing system that is BNI. I think that that actually would be a tremendous opportunity to try to mobilize your entire membership to be both mentors and mentees. The logistics of that personally sound very intimidating on how you would arrange that, but I think that there is it could be some really good promise, because then you're going to get members to experience both sides of the equation. I think it would be a great experiment to see.
Excellent. We have a couple of other questions. Let's see. We have, where is the best place to go for resources about the subjects and topics to cover when serving as a mentor? One thing is we will definitely be sending out the mentor packets. In my opinion, the best places to go is you do want to take a look at the document library. If your region staff is going to be sharing additional documents, one place they can do that is if you click on, if you're in, let me reshare my screen with you. I'm going to show you guys something else real quick in BNI Connect. So in BNI Connect, if you go to the home screen here, you'll notice on the left-hand side you have My BNI Business. You have a link down from that that says My Network. Click on My Network, and in here, this is really all the networking components. You'll see Documents. This is where the region can upload resources and documents and PDF files and things like that. For example, this is my regional documents. We have things like the visitor sign-in sheet. If I go to More, we have our traffic lights. We do have our mentor packet up there for our region and the president's packet and all sorts of things. So that would be the first place that I would look. And Beth, if you want to upload some stuff in there for them to use in the mentoring program, that would be really, really helpful. The second place, there's always things like BNI Podcast and BNI.com as well that has documents for you, and of course the training packets. But let me turn that back over to you guys. You guys will have some local answers to those questions.
One thing I would recommend is you can always reach out to your director for guidance and assistance. Your president may also be able to provide some assistance, and when you're implementing this program, you want both their support and their guidance. Jesse, do we have any other resources?
I mean, you mentioned the BNI podcasts you can listen to. You can go to SuccessNet and listen to, and subscribe to that content. Jeremy, did you show them the groups? I know that Dr. Meisner has his From the Founder group that always has a lot of stuff that's always talked about and collaborated and shared from new members and other members looking to learn and grow their membership experience. Did you cover that group at all on BNI Connect?
I can. I didn't on this call, but I'd be happy to. So the
and
groups,
if we don't have time for it, they can show later. But it's I think the groups are phenomenal resources as well.
I've got nothing but time. This is what I do all day, every day. So I'm happy to share. The groups you'll find are a great place to have conversations with other members around the world and even other mentor coordinators around the world. To access the groups, either go back to the My Network screen here, and in the groups, go to Manage, or you can always go to Network Groups. And here is just the list of public groups. And right now there is, I forget how many are active at the moment. It is 519 active groups. And they are active conversations because they do get automatically removed if it's more than 120 days between posts. But you can do a search. There's some great ones. There's even some groups from Dr. Meisner, why BNI, and from the founder. But you can do a search for something like Mentor. And let's see if there's any groups in here that would be helpful for joining. So it looks like there's 44 groups with that keyword. So you'd have to go through it a little bit, maybe a coordinator. Nope, doesn't look like there's a mentor coordinator group, or they're spelling coordinator differently. But you could also start a group even amongst yourselves if somebody wants to start a mentoring coordinator group, and you guys could have discussions through this interface with other BNI people, and you'd find that, I'll give you an example. One of my own director consultants here in Rhode Island started a group called the Growth Coordinator Group. And the Growth Coordinator Group, we found the Growth Coordinator position in BNI was fairly underdeveloped a couple of years ago. So she was reaching out, it's right here, the chapter Growth Coordinators. She was reaching out to say, hey, we're still developing this program here in Rhode Island. Let's share some ideas on growth coordinators. You guys could do the same thing with mentor coordinators if there isn't one already up there. But there could also be other groups that are just not called mentor coordinators that you could participate in. That would give you some good ideas. So does that help, Jesse? Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
All right, so there's one more question up here. It is Diego. Diego says, can we have Jeremy do a live webinar during our meetings as one of the 10-minute presentations about using BNI Connect? If the answer is yes, we would like to coordinate that soon. Diego from BNI South Beach. Diego, I would be happy to do that. It just will take some coordination. I have to be able to get it into my schedule and at a mutually convenient time. The way that I usually like to do those is to, you have to make sure that you have a good internet connection, that you have a projector, speakers, and microphone. So what we'll do is we set up a meeting just like we have today, a GoToWebinar or a GoToMeeting, and you project your computer, this GoToMeeting, on the screen, and then from your speakers, make sure you hook in a pair of good speakers into your laptop or whatever, and people will be able to hear me. And if you have a microphone, people would be able to ask questions as well, or somebody would have to sit at the computer and type questions in. Rather than do it during the 10-minute presentation slot, because I can tell you that as soon as people start asking questions, 10 minutes is not going to be enough time. And I would hate to make your meeting run over. What I usually do, and again, this is subject to the okay of your regional office and Jeff Stay, but I like to shift the agenda just a little bit when I do these. And I recommend that we have a regular meeting, just as you always would. Give your 60-second presentations, your weekly presentations, then you skip the 10-minute slot and go directly to the reports and then directly into the the thank you for closed business and the referral portion of the meeting. And then after the meeting is quote-unquote over, we just shift the 10 minutes to the end of the meeting. And I could take whatever time is left, because usually you can get through the meeting a little bit quicker. So maybe you'll end up with 15, 20 minutes or even a half hour in smaller chapters left at the end of the meeting. And I could take all that time, and if it runs over, people are welcome to just leave or can hang out and ask as many questions as they want to ask. Would that work for you guys if we did it that way? Jesse, Alvaro, Ken, Beth, does that sound like a good idea to you guys?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea that we have to work out with the president.
Yes, I think we can work around it, and we also can record it so that other chapters who really would like to see that could do it too.
Yep, and pretty much everything I do I record, so not a problem. And we would also need to discuss what topics. Obviously, I can't talk about everything in BNI Connect in 10 minutes, whether you want just a kind of a BNI overview, if you want how to do online referrals or how to do the social media side or how to do, basically I can do shortened versions of any one of those webinars that I have listed. So, but we'd plan all that out ahead of time. I can tell you the worst day is my own personal meetings are on Thursday mornings, so that will be the toughest day for me to participate, although I am happy to organize if we can. All right.
Alvaro, do you have any comments?
I do. Can you hear me? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do a quick recap. I think it's very important that we all try to implement a good mentorship program in our own chapters. It's going to look, feel, and taste different in every chapter. We all understand that. But it will have a great impact and results on the profitability of each member and retention of members in the chapter. Because we all spend a lot of time, effort, and energy inviting members, and people come and stay for 2 or 3 months. They get discouraged, and then they leave. And they get a bad taste of BNI in their mouths anywhere they go. So it's important that we do this, and we do it right for the benefit of the members and the benefit of the chapter. It's up to you. It's up to you as a member, and it's up to you as a president of a chapter to do something. Doing nothing will continue to give you the same results you've been getting. So I urge you and encourage you to do something. Get your directors involved. They are there to help you. From a 10-minute presentation to a phone call, to an email, to whatever resources you need. But do something. Because if not, you'll continue to get horrible results. Any thoughts?
Does anybody else have any comments before we close? We will schedule an additional conference call next month for the mentorship coordinators. Our focus will be on how things are working for you, your challenges, and your successes, and how helping each other implement the mentorship coordinator program and the mentee-mentee program successfully for the benefit of your chapters. And we'll give you more notice before we start that one. If no one else has anything else to say, I think we're ready to close.
Excellent. So the question box is clear at this point. We do have one final comment from Michelle. Says this was very helpful. I was very overwhelmed on how to implement it at first. Now I can tackle this happily. So excellent. That's why we do these things, Michelle, and I'm very glad that you'll be able to implement it in your chapter. And again, just a final reminder, just make sure you check out the support site if you'd like to find this. Also, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. If you'd like to subscribe there, you'll be notified whenever new trainings are uploaded. And of course, if you'd like some webinar tips and tricks and reminders, facebook.com/BNI Connect Global. And it will also be on BNIMiami.com. You'll see the event calendar, and you'll see all the trainings available up there as well. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Thank you, everybody, so much for being with us today, and I look forward to seeing you on a future call and or webinar. Happy connecting.